Apparently this guy tried to convince an atheist that God exists, because his video is called I Tried to Convince an Atheist That God Exists. I wonder how it went. I guess not that well, because otherwise he'd be saying I convinced an atheist that God exists. Either way, I'm sure it makes for a good story. I'm famous for always being up for a good story. I love when people ramble about those things, you know that.
As an atheist, do you question God all the time?
Ugh, what's wrong with your audio? It sounds like you're using one of those voice changer toys.
And if you won't be honest with me, at least your algorithm will be, because this is the video for you.
If I won't be honest with you about what? Sorry, I'm so distracted by how you sound, I don't even know what you said. Let's start over again. I would love to be able to say let's start over again and I'll fix your audio at the same time, but if I'm being honest, I don't know what to do to fix this. But I think I can manage to power through. And if I can, I guess most of the people watching can too. And if not, it's just because they have weak ears. Never did respect a person with weak ears.
As an atheist, do you question God all the time?
No. Why would I question God? What do you mean? I question you guys.
And if you won't be honest with me, at least your algorithm will be, because this is the video for you.
Clearly it is the video for me, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it. It probably didn't come up because of my algorithm, it probably came up because around the time you published it, I was searching for the word atheist. I've had this video sitting in my possible videos list for the better part of a year, probably. I think the audio quality was the thing standing in the way of me wanting to do it, for the most part. But this is one of those dry months where the theists on YouTube are really not that interesting, at least from what I've seen, so you made it to the top of the list. So you think atheists aren't being honest with you about the fact that all the time they're questioning God. In other words, that they're not atheists. That's what it sounds like you mean to imply, is it? And then you say, well, at least your algorithm will be honest. At least that betrays your true feelings on the matter, because this is the video for you. So is this a video to address atheists who are constantly questioning God? I thought it was about a story of you trying to convince an atheist God exists. These sound like completely unrelated topics.
So now that I have your attention, I want to be very careful with it and share something with you.
The story, right? You're going to share the story. Because aside from me and my viewers, that's why people are watching your video. They saw the title and they went, oh, that sounds like a wild ride. I bet that's a hell of a story.
First off, I'm a Christian and I'm going to talk to you about God.
I have to admit I assumed that, but nevertheless, I appreciate clarity.
And you don't have to believe in any of this whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. And as such, I don't have to question God either. I do appreciate the permission to not believe, and I guess the acknowledgement that people don't. Considering that, I'm not really sure how to interpret your earlier statement anymore. Is it just that some atheists act like God exists and constantly question him, but then there's also atheists who don't? It's hard to say. I'm not going to make up my mind on this. Hopefully you clarify.
In fact, God gives you the choice to believe in him or not.
Okay, so that's a pretty clear acknowledgement that non-belief is at least possible. But even so, based on what you said at the start, it seems like you're not talking to those atheists who truly don't believe it. You're talking to the ones who question God all the time, but won't admit it to other people, but who are doing something on YouTube that leads their algorithm to recommend them videos like, I tried to convince an atheist that God exists. And that shows those people's true inner thoughts. Wait a second. In that case, when you say question God, do you not actually mean question God? Like the way you would question a person? But rather that you question whether God exists? You're constantly like, does he exist? Does he exist? That kind of thing? Because that would be more consistent with what you said about the algorithm. Otherwise, it's very confusing how those two things are supposed to be linked. Maybe that does actually explain what you said there. Maybe that's what you meant and you just put it in a very sloppy way.
So let's just cut the small talk.
Sorry, damn, I wasn't really trying to engage in small talk with you. I was just trying to understand what you're even saying. Didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Have you honestly ever asked God to just show himself to you?
No, I don't believe in God. I don't ask God to do things. Okay, now I'm back to wondering if my first interpretation of do you question God was correct, and my second one was just trying to find some more reasonable interpretation of something that really didn't require any further interpretation. Is this video as confusing as I think it is so far, or am I just an idiot today? Or both?
Don't get mad at me for that, it's just a question.
I'm not mad, Bobby. I'm just confused.
And if not, I just ask you to be honest with yourself, your own existence as a human being.
Whoa. You're right. I am one. I'm 100% human, 100% demon, and 100% reptoid. Just like Jesus.
You're probably super smart.
Yeah, what do you think's in this hat? Air?
Very analytical, and you know what's going on in the world today.
Actually, I never really thought about that. Let me take a look here. Alright, pretty typical day as far as I remember. Moon looks normal, Earth style. The hill nips are nice and perky. And what's that building over there? That wasn't there before. What does it say? I can't read it from here, probably not important. Wow, I had no idea so much was going on out there.
Because you love information.
That's a little much to say. I like information, sometimes, depending on what it is.
Believe it or not, I do too.
Oh good, I've avoided the love triangle.
Even being a Christian.
I love information, even being a Christian. So are you expecting me to be of the opinion that loving information, just in a broad, general kind of sense, is at odds with being a Christian in some way? I don't really understand the things you say, or why you say them.
I'm just trying to build a bridge with you.
I see. I'm not really sure I understand how you think the bridge is going to get built with this. I'm not saying it's going to tear down bridges or anything. I don't think it's going to do much in either direction. You're sort of just peeing out words into the breeze.
Have you ever just looked up into the night sky and you were just like, God, where are you? If you're real, reveal yourself to me.
No, especially not with an accent like that. That's not really how I sound. I don't know if that's how anyone actually sounds.
Or maybe you're on the calmer aspect and you're kind of like, all right, God, if you're real, let's see what the big hype's about.
Yeah, I don't do that either. Just like I don't sit around in my house and go, hey, ghosts in my house. If you're real, bring me a coffee. I don't believe in ghosts. Why would I do that? I mean, if you want me to do it, like as a performance, I'll do it. If you want me to try to feel sincere about it, I'll try. Listen, ghosts, I'm sorry for not believing in you all these years, but I really want a coffee. Just bring me a coffee and I'll believe in you and be your friend and become a staunch advocate for ghost-accessible doors on all buildings. I thought that was going to work. I'm sleepy.
Whichever type of atheist you are, the truth is you're looking for truth, right?
What if you're the I don't care about truth type of atheist?
And if you've never done that, then you're actually being dishonest to yourself.
How so? There's all sorts of religious rituals I don't engage in. I'm not in any religion. When's the last time you tried praying 5 times a day and fasting for Ramadan? I'm not sure you quite understand what it is to just not be a part of this subculture. I don't think this is real. Not at all. I see no sign that it's real. I see every sign that this is just a very typical human religious belief like all the other ones. And I don't spend my time touring around trialing random religions. Yours is common here. That doesn't make it special. It doesn't make it more likely true, in my opinion. It doesn't make it seem more worthy of me flailing around trying its different ideas. And if I were to do this, and I said, listen, I'm going to try it as hard as I can, as sincerely as I can, and then inevitably nothing happened, what would be the response? You're lying. You weren't really sincere. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't try the right way. This works 100% of the time when it's done properly. So if you tried and it didn't work, the problem must be with your heart. It's set up for confirmation bias from the start. It's an absurdity. It's built on fallacy. You've already accused people of being dishonest twice in this video, once of being dishonest to you, and once of being dishonest to themselves. It's pretty obvious what your reaction is going to be if someone says, yes, I've tried this and it didn't do anything. Why would anyone engage with this when the outcome is so abundantly clear in advance, and when it's so obviously just a piece of cynical propaganda? I'm not being dishonest with myself by not engaging with this. I would be dishonest with myself if I tried to somehow trick myself into thinking that this is some sort of serious, meaningful endeavor.
Because that means that you've never checked all the boxes to get to the point of actually asking the right questions.
Okay, so what are the right questions, and why do I have to check all these boxes of pretending to be part of your religion to get to the point of asking them? Tell me what they are and I'll ask them. Or, to be real, more likely, I'll point out that they're not really the right questions, and that when you say they're the right questions, you just mean they're your preferred ones.
And you've agreed to the lack of effort in finding God to begin with.
Look, man, if your assertion is that nothing indicates the existence of God except trying to induce some kind of emotional experience in oneself, that alone says a lot, in my opinion, about whether this thing is actually true and worthy of being taken seriously. And if that's not what you mean, and there are other ways to find out about the existence of God, well, I've engaged with a very large number of those, and they all suck. Like, really extremely badly. Why is that? Isn't that kind of weird? So the only way left to me to figure out whether God is real, apparently, is to go, God, please, please, I'm desperate for you to show me that you're real. Please, please make me feel it in my feel parts that you're real. Well, if I really felt that way, I would already be basically a theist, and a theist with ideas about God that basically line up with your religion. You're berating people as lazy and dishonest for not just being religious first, operating on emotion, and then maybe later asking questions to see if it makes any sense. sense. What you're demanding is laziness. The worst kind of intellectual laziness, where the easiest, sloppiest approach of just following your wishes and emotions is taken as of primary importance and as the only accurate way to find out what's true about reality. Well, I'm sorry, but I want it, therefore it's true, or I feel it, therefore it's true, is an approach that, as far as I can tell, doesn't seem to get very reliable results. You're putting this forth as if you expect it to just be taken seriously just because you've said it, as if you expect people to respect this as a way of apprehending the truth, apparently without question. You seem to want this approach to be seen as on a level playing field with other epistemological approaches, just for free. What, you think I'm just going to drop everything and pretend this is a meaningful way to figure out what's true about anything, just because you said I'm lazy if I don't or something? You gotta be joking.
Which in this case, you probably never even made it to this part of the video.
Here I am.
Because if not, then that means you're being completely dishonest to your whole existence, and that wouldn't really be fair to, well, anybody. Especially you.
You know, the main thing that bothers me about this isn't even how cynical this play is. It's the lack of subtlety. I know, I'll just tell them they're being dishonest if they don't accept my premises. And then if that doesn't work, I'll do it again, and again, and again. What a clever strategy. They'll never see through that.
What I'm trying to say is, you should try.
Really? How would I ever have picked up on that if you didn't say that right now?
Otherwise, you'll never know.
Okay, so if I put on a theist skin suit and look up at the sky every day and pretend I'm talking to a god I don't believe exists, then what? Either it won't work, and I'll go, yeah, it didn't work, and you'll go, yeah, right, you must not have really tried, and then I won't know that God exists. Or my brain will fall out of my head even further than it already must have for me to give this any credence at all in the first place, and I'll go, wow, actually, this feels kinda nice. That must be God talking to me in the form of nice feelings. And then I still won't know because that feels nice to believe isn't a justification for beliefs about external reality. If you want me to believe that this is actually a way to find out what's true about the real world, you gotta convince me of that. You have to get me to the point where I think this approach is capable of generating meaningful results, which are actually realistic. And that is not stuff like, I felt bad, and then I had a belief about God, and I joined the religion, and I felt better. Yeah, I know, it's a religion, they all say that. That's not gonna do it.
Then you would want to put yourself in the position to ask these questions. And I'm trying to let you know that I've asked those questions.
Okay, what are the questions? You haven't really brought up any questions.
That I let my guard down. I became vulnerable to the idea of God.
Right, you let your guard down, you switched your brain off. You stopped worrying about things like if I like it or if I feel like it's probably true. Does that actually mean it's true? That's fine. If you're happy with no standards, that's your business. Unfortunately, a lot of people agree with you on this, which leads to all sorts of wacky beliefs. Millions of them. I'm not interested in participating in things like this that obviously don't work consistently, and which is nothing more than a pathetically transparent proselytization technique anyway.
And it was the greatest thing that I've ever done in my life.
Good for you, man. I'm glad you feel nice. Go enjoy it.
You have to ask God wholeheartedly. You can't have ego. You can't have pride.
When you think about it, that makes very little sense as a condition. Because what is the point of this? The point is, you're a sinful being with deep character flaws built into your very nature, which you alone really can't resist. And there's this God who badly wants a relationship with you. He loves you so much. He wants to know you and you to know him. And he wants to help you improve. He wants to help to take away your sin and your flaws, and to make it possible for you to come to heaven and to be with him. This is what he wants more than anything. Now, you're a person who's never approached God in your life, but finally you listen to the Christians who are telling you, approach God, and maybe you've ignored them for decades. But today, you say, you know what? I'm not sure about all this, but I'm gonna at least try talking to this God and just see what happens. And so you sit down and kind of half-heartedly you say, God, I don't know if you're there, but if you are, I'd really like to get to know you. I'd really like to hear from you. And maybe you do it a little bit imperfectly. Maybe you have a little bit of ego about it. Maybe you have a little bit of pride. This is your sinful nature, after all. You're a fallen creature. You haven't been saved from your sin, and even if you had been, well, you still have it. God doesn't expect perfection. That would just be unreasonable, of course. He knows the situation. You're not doing it perfectly, and you're not perfect as a person, but you're trying. You've taken a step, which is more than you've done in your entire life. And God can see that. And he says to himself, finally, there it is. He watches you reaching out for him, feebly, yes, flickeringly, falteringly, as if you're not sure what to reach for, or if there's anything to reach for, if you should even be trying. But you're still trying. And yes, your ego is still guarded. Yes, your humility is imperfect. Yes, you're fallible and fallen. But despite it all, you're trying. He watches this, and he realizes that all he has to do is reciprocate and give you that feeling that the Christians speak of, that instant burst of the knowledge and love of God, that undeniable moment of understanding. Child, you don't need your ego. You don't need your pride. It's okay. You're safe. I'm here. You've reached me, and I'll never leave you. You have some faults, but you found me. We're gonna work together on this thing from now on. It's all gonna work out in the end. He knows that that's all he has to do. You won't be able to deny his response. This is the moment, maybe the only one. And so, in the spirit of love and connection and salvation of his creation, he does absolutely nothing, gives zero sign that he's there at all, and drives his creation further away into unbelief. That's the story, is it?
The situation might even look like you're just sitting on the floor looking up at your popcorn ceiling in your room, and you're just like, God, I don't really believe in you, but if you are real, can you show me that you're real, and show me in a way that I myself could never deny it?
Oh, sounds a little prideful, putting conditions on it, telling God how he's got to do it and that he's got to suit your standard. But okay, so you do that, nothing happens, and then the Christians shrug and go, you must have just had too much pride or something. Try it again, and again, and again, and again, until it works, or you die of old age.
And to be honest with ourselves at this point, we're going to give God the benefit of the doubt that he is doing something.
So you ask God to show you his existence in a way you could never deny, and then rather than God just showing you his existence in a way you could never deny, you now have to take some steps to feel like anything happened at all. To be honest with yourself, you have to give God the benefit of the doubt that he's doing something.
At this point, I want you to pay attention to all the little coincidences that are going to begin to manifest in your life.
Right, exactly. So God doesn't show you in a way that you can't deny. That's just not a thing, apparently. What is a thing is that you're honest with yourself by giving God the benefit of the doubt that he's doing anything and looking for any random little coincidence in your life that you can attribute to him. Like as if coincidences aren't just things that happen anyway. When many things happen, humans who love to find connections and patterns will sometimes see connections between events that seem interesting to them. But now you're supposed to just assume that coincidences come from God and nothing else, for reasons you haven't bothered to state, and despite apparently being an atheist. And now every, as you put it, little coincidence, in other words, ordinary mundane events with no apparent connection to the existence of a God at all, are supposed to be taken as some sort of evidence of God.
And since I said to be real with yourself, that means be real as in like you know the issues that you have. So let's say you're addicted to pornography.
Okay, so we're just moving on from the coincidence thing then. But I really think it deserves a little bit more time. I mean, do you have any comprehension of just how worthless that was as a statement? Focus on small coincidences and try to ascribe them to God. Why would that have anything to do with this? The only connection that seems to have is that you want it to have one. It's an arbitrary, easy way to trick 75 IQ people into thinking there's some connection between God and reality, despite you never even attempting to establish that there is a link. You just said there is. It's like saying, if there's God, then there will be shoes. And look, in your house right now, there's shoes. No way!
Ask God to help you get out of that addiction. Let's say you cuss too much. Ask God to help you to stop cussing.
Wait, is that a thing people have problems with? Words accidentally coming out of their mouth on a regular basis? If you don't want to say swear words, just don't. Say something else. What is this, straight up NPCs whose brains are like reading off a teleprompter? The guy behind the scenes types in, fuck, shit, and the person just spits it out? Is that actually a thing? That's incredible. Anyway, so you have a thing you don't like doing. It's already causing you some sort of a problem, at least mentally, and you go into this already wanting to stop that behavior. And now, any progress that you make in stopping that behavior that you don't want to engage in, you're going to attribute to God, just like the coincidences. Things that ordinarily happen in life, like little coincidences happening or taking some steps in self-improvement, are now, for no reason whatsoever, to have God assigned as their cause by, again, I point out, an atheist. So your steps to come to believe in God are: step 1, talk to God as if he exists. Ask him to provide you undeniable evidence. Step 2, look for random things that you can just say God did, and then try real hard to tell yourself that God did them. Somehow you've made this even more ridiculous than I already thought it was.
Ask God to break yourself down to a point that you will see him more and more in your day-to-day life.
Please, God, help me pretend that all kinds of random stuff has something to do with you based on absolutely nothing. I really, really want some irrational excuse to believe you exist, okay? Didn't this start with you asking to be convinced in some undeniable way? Why is this turning into an incredibly motivated game of make-believe? This isn't God convincing you of anything. This is you finding something, no matter how tenuous or totally disconnected it is, to try to convince yourself. That's incredible. By the way, wasn't this video about a story about you trying to convince an atheist God exists? When are we getting to that?
And once you start establishing these tiny little steps one by one, you will see, just like in math, 1 + 1 = 2.
Oh, come on, man. Like there's anything rational about what you're doing in any way.
You will begin to see that there's an intelligence outside of your own realm of understanding.
If we're being honest, you started from that point. That's what you're proposing. You talk a lot about being honest, being real. Well, try it then. But you're right, if people intentionally self-brainwash, they are capable of convincing themselves of all sorts of things. This is not some interesting observation. You yourself put it forth at the start that people can be dishonest with themselves. Well, if that idea is true, then they can be dishonest with themselves about this, which is what you're insisting they should do. And I'm supposed to take this seriously as a legitimate technique for reaching truth.
And as you begin to move forward in this, we begin to establish a line in us as Christians we call faith. These stepping stones eventually become long strides.
Yeah, you fool yourself about little things, and then about slightly bigger things, and slightly bigger things, and gradually you weave a web of these preposterous lies so strong and thick that you can frolic about on it with no fear of falling off.
And then we go to the Bible and try to dissect these steps even further. And we learn things like wisdom, scenarios, pattern recognition.
Oh, something like, hey look, a pattern. Must be God.
These are all elements that are sprinkled in the Bible through parables and stories.
Stories. I like stories. When are we getting to the story?
And once you get really good at picking these things out, you can start living your life by these things.
By finding patterns that aren't there and ascribing them to your preferred cause for no reason? Judging by what you've said so far, that's what you're going to be doing. Do you actually believe this stuff you're saying, or are you just playing dumb for the marketing?
And because they're honest and true, there's no deceit or lies behind them.
It's amazing.
It creates an accelerated path for you to begin living a better life. And if you get this far along, you're already there. You want all the truth because now you're addicted to it.
Yeah, you're trying to get an emotional hit from ascribing things to God over and over and over. For some reason, apparently people get a thrill out of this. And clearly, this person who you're talking to, who's going to be willing to intentionally push themselves down this rabbit hole of self-delusion, is the ideal type for this.
Now you want to share this with everybody.
Oh, lucky us.
But even still, that's only scratching the surface. And just how numbers can be infinite, these steps and coincidences can be infinite.
Yes, if you live your life looking for little coincidences that you can pretend are caused by God for some reason, yes, those are basically potentially infinite. That's going to be the nature of any system of any appreciable complexity, including the world or a human life. That's why this is so utterly valueless. I love the bait and switch, you have to start off asking for something truly compelling, something undeniable that will show you unequivocally that God is real. And then as soon as that person does that, you yoink that away and say, just go find random coincidences and pretend that's God. Do that hard enough and enough times and you'll believe it.
These situations or these blessings could be infinite, and we give God, the creator of all of this, the glory for allowing us to step into this realm with him.
What realm? Imagination land?
We learn of Jesus Christ, who is the truth, and that truth is a sustainable source.
What is that supposed to mean? No, we don't use that dirty truth from the truth mines anymore. We use good, clean, burnin' organic truth from sustainable truth farms, fertilized with recycled Jesus material.
And we begin to apply this source with us every single day.
Truth is just a statement accurately reflecting something about reality. Saying truth is a sustainable source that you apply with you doesn't mean anything. Not even grammatically.
In fact, we love it so much, and we love the blessings, and we understand the truth so much, we want to live in this truth forever.
I understand the truth so much. Do you have any idea how much I understand the truth? I apply it with me every single day from sustainable sources. But so I've learned something here. I know what you mean by blessings, because you defined it just a little while ago in this clip.
These steps and coincidences can be infinite. These situations or these blessings can be infinite.
So blessings is just little coincidences and other random crap that you pretend God did based on literally nothing. That's all a blessing is. And you get into tracking these down like you're playing the world's stupidest variant of Pokemon Go, and you get addicted to it, and you love it so much, and you replace whatever stupid things you're into, like pornography or cussing too much, with this stupid new thing that you're into. And what makes this stupid new thing so much more compelling than all the other stupid things you were into is that this one lets you feel like you understand the truth without doing anything for it, or actually understanding anything. If you make enough little petty observations about unrelated bits of reality, that means you have a big cohesive understanding of reality. You've accessed the supernatural source of truth. Or at least that's the lore. Is it all collecting, or sometimes do you get to throw out your truthy balls and have your truthymon apply with you to battle? Think about how much more exciting that would be.
And there's only one way to this source, and that way is Jesus Christ.
Wait, so Jesus Christ is the truth, and I think what you said was truth is a sustainable source, which at the time I think I interpreted as truth comes from a sustainable source, because why wouldn't I? That would be sort of a statement that makes sense. But no, Jesus Christ is the way to the source. So Jesus Christ is the truth, and the truth is the way to the source, the sustainable source, and the sustainable source is also the truth. I don't get it. But so then my question is, what is truth a sustainable source of? Like, truth leads you to the source, and also truth is the source, but you never said what comes from the source. Is that also truth? You need truth to lead you to the truth, which is a source of truth? Or is it a source of something else? And that something else, I think you might mean, is the blessings or coincidences, but those are what led you to the source in the first place, right? They led you to belief in God and therefore Jesus, and Jesus is the truth and leads you to the truth source, which then gives you the blessings that you already had. Maybe this is where the blessings turn infinite, where the finding of little coincidences in your life goes from a finite number of coincidences you can puzzle about to an infinite number, and so you can get your enjoyment collecting them forever in heaven. I don't know, I'm trying to make it make sense, but it's not working.
So what I'm trying to say is, if you're tired of living the way that you are,
Nah, I'm good. My life is awesome.
I want you to know that there is another path to live by.
I gotta be honest, man, the way you presented it sounds incredibly tedious. I'm not interested in collecting in general, let alone collecting intangible coincidences so I can gain the reward of being allowed to collect infinity more.
And if you thought that living a life without God was great, wait until you cleanse yourself of all of these things that were holding you back from a truth that is greater and more divine than you have ever known.
But it's really great, though. Seriously. Look, okay, maybe my pitch wasn't the best, but let me start over. And if that doesn't work, let me do it again. Eventually it's gonna work.
And I'm just gonna say this just so you don't think I'm crazy.
I don't think you're crazy. Your ideas just seem really, really lame and poorly thought through.
I've been a barber for 15 years. I'm 34 years old. I just paid off my car.
Okay, I don't need your whole life story. I really don't care. I'm gonna skip this part because you talk about every aspect of your personal life for no reason.
And I just want to be transparent with you. This video is only for your benefit.
Obviously.
There's no smoke and mirrors here.
I agree, you're not putting in much effort to hide much. As you said, you're pretty transparent. The only stuff you haven't presented clearly is the stuff where you failed to form a coherent sentence.
One day, I'm going to die. And that's something we will all be going through. And it can be terrifying. But if you hold on to the truths that I just mentioned, you're going to have extreme confidence when the day comes.
So? Your feelings don't have any impact on the truth of this claim. Again, you spent the whole start of the video talking about how people should be honest with themselves and be real. Well, why not do that then? Why are you relying on this shit that means nothing to try to establish the truth of a claim? Nothing you've said in this entire video has any relevance at all to whether the thing is true. You've carefully ignored that question the entire time in favor of stuff that has nothing to do with it.
To know that if these truths were here on this earth, they must exist elsewhere.
What is that supposed to mean now? Truths exist, and if they exist on Earth, then for some reason they must also exist in another location. Like, I could understand you saying that if something is true here, then it's just true generally, but it doesn't sound like that's what you mean. You said it in a weird way to try to imply something else. At least I think so. You talk so much and end up saying nothing.
And you're going to want to follow them for all of eternity, because they're full of love, understanding, peace, joy, happiness, basically everything that you want, everything I want.
You're going to want to follow truths for eternity because the truth contains love, understanding, peace, joy, happiness, and everything else that you want. You just toss out words in a big tangled heap and hope that people make sense of it themselves. But yeah, so it's come down to just the big promises. Try to believe this thing. You'll get whatever you want, really, anything you want. Just believe it, please, come on. This is not being honest with yourself. This is not being real. This is just if I hope and dream and wish for it hard enough, it must be true. Nope. Oh, maybe it is true. I doubt it very strongly, but maybe. But if so, what you've said in this video is not a good reason to think so. If your standard is just personal greed and fear of death, if that's what you think makes something true, well, you have a lot of options. You can pretty much believe any damn thing that makes big promises.
So if you don't know Jesus, if you don't know God, I just want you to be honest with yourself. At the very least, ask God to reveal himself to you.
God, reveal yourself to me. Didn't work. Tell me how I didn't do it good enough.
And if I'm wrong, then I guess I'm just another whack job Christian.
Well, no, you're that regardless of whether you're wrong. Being a whack job is more defined by your method of reasoning. And I would say that on purpose getting yourself addicted to collecting little coincidences, and then declaring that as a result of this hobby you have some incredible understanding of the truth, falls firmly into whack job territory.
I know that I'm not.
They all say that.
But at the end of the day, the choice is always yours.
How generous, thank you. Well, that was irritating. And it turns out that for some reason the title meant effectively nothing. There was no story about that time he tried to convince an atheist God exists, so he couldn't even get people's attention honestly. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you would, before you go, please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. And if you like the channel, maybe consider supporting. A few bucks a month is enormously helpful, and huge thanks to all of my supporters who've already made that choice. Early access, email list, list.logicked.com, and I'll see you next time.